The scream ripped through the hallway, sharp and terrifying. Lena stumbled backward, her breath catching as she stared into the hotel mirror. What she saw wasn't her reflection. It was her, but from yesterday. In the mirror, her other self was calmly tying her hair, smiling faintly, unaware that something tall and shadowy stood behind her reflection, its long hands stretching closer. Lena's voice caught in her throat. She watched in frozen horror as the thing in the mirror grabbed her reflection by the shoulders. The image of her from yesterday turned toward the darkness, her face twisting in fear. Then the mirror went completely black. Lena gasped and dropped the brush she was holding. The room around her was silent except for her heartbeat. When the mirror brightened again, it showed the same hotel room, but empty. The bed was made. The lights were off. The window curtains were still open to the rain outside, exactly as they'd been when she checked in the night before. Then came a whisper, faint and trembling. It was her own voice, echoing from the mirror. Don't look again. Her knees almost gave out. She stumbled toward the bed, clutching the blanket as her mind spun. The digital clock by the nightstand blinked 3:17 a.m., and when she grabbed her phone to check the time, it said October 14th. But the room phone calendar still read October 13th. Her hands began to shake. No, that's not right, she whispered. She tried to remind herself why she was even here. She was driving from Seattle to Denver for a job interview and had stopped at the Briar Hill Hotel, a lonely, old building sitting between pine trees off an empty highway. The rain had been pouring so heavily that she couldn't see 5 feet ahead. The neon sign outside was flickering, vacancy, glowing half dead in red. When she'd walked in, the woman at the front desk had smiled oddly, her face pale under the yell. Oh, light. Room 9, the woman said softly. End of the hall, you'll find it peaceful there. Then, as Lena turned to go, she added, whatever you do, don't cover the mirror, it doesn't like that. Lena thought it was some weird hotel superstition. She had laughed then. But now, sitting in the dark with her reflection moving on its own, the memory made her skin crawl. She forced herself to breathe, to act normal. It's just a dream, she whispered. Just a dream. But something about the silence felt wrong. The air was too still. She turned her head slowly toward the mirror again. Her reflection was standing. Lena's chest tightened. She wasn't moving, but the reflection was. It smiled faintly, as though it could see her fear. Then, with one slow motion, the reflection lifted its hand and pointed behind Lena. Lena froze. The air beside her grew cold, so cold she could see her breath. Then came a sound. Soft at first, then louder. A slow, steady breathing right next to her ear. Lena didn't dare move. The sound of breathing beside her was steady, too close, too human. Her skin prickled as she turned her eyes, not her head, toward the mirror. The reflection was still there, still pointing at something behind her, but now its mouth was open, slowly, impossibly wide. Her chest tightened. The room felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. She forced herself to turn around, but there was nothing. Just darkness. The air was cold and wet, the way it feels before a storm. Lena stumbled to her feet, gasping. Stop it, she shouted, her voice breaking. The lights flickered on by themselves, humming faintly. Everything looked normal again. The same cheap curtains, the same faded wallpaper, the same mirror hanging across from her bed. The reflection was normal too, just her. But her heart wouldn't slow down. She grabbed her suitcase and began throwing her clothes inside. "I'm not staying here another second," she whispered. But when she yanked the door handle, it wouldn't move. Locked. She twisted it harder. Nothing. The knob was ice cold, like metal left in snow. Her phone buzzed suddenly in her pocket, and she jumped. The screen lit up. It was a message from an unknown number. "Don't leave yet. We need to talk about yesterday." Her stomach dropped. She typed back with trembling fingers. "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, then vanished, then appeared again. Check the mirror. Lena's throat went dry. Her mind screamed no, but her body turned on its own. The mirror shimmered faintly as if light was passing through it. The reflection showed her room again, but something was different. The window in the reflection was open, and someone was standing outside in the rain, watching her. She turned to the real window. It was closed, locked. But when she looked back at the mirror, the person outside was closer. Their hand was pressed against the glass now. She could, Annette, see their face, only the shape of their mouth, smiling. The air conditioner suddenly shut off, and the room fell silent. Lena backed away, her breath coming fast. "This isn't real," she whispered, shaking her head. "It's not real." Then the phone buzzed again. "It's always real. The mirrors don't lie. They just show what's coming." Her eyes darted back to the mirror. This time, it wasn't yesterday she was seeing, it was minutes ago. The reflection showed her reading that exact message. And behind her reflection, she saw movement, the shadow of someone walking into the room. Lena spun around. The door was still closed. The room was empty, but the faint smell of wet dirt filled the air like rain-soaked ground. Her heart was pounding so hard that she could feel it in her throat. Then, from the mirror, her reflection whispered in a voice that didn't belong to her, low and broken, almost pleading. "Please, don't make the same mistake I did." Lena froze. "What mistake?" she whispered back, her lips trembling. The reflection looked down, as if afraid to say it. Then, slowly, the words appeared across the mirror, scratched into the glass from the inside. "You stayed." Lena stumbled backward, knocking over the lamp. The bulb shattered, sparks flying, and in the brief flash of light she saw her reflection smile again. Only this time, her reflection wasn't alone. There was a second figure standing behind it, watching her. Lena screamed and stumbled backward until her back hit the wall. The glass in the mirror rippled like water, distorting the image. She stared in horror as the dark figure behind her reflection began to move. It leaned closer, pressing its face against the inside of the glass. She couldn't see it clearly. Its face was just a blur of gray and shadow, but she could feel it watching her. Then her reflection turned its head toward the figure, whispering something she couldn't hear. The thing reached a hand forward, pressing its palm against the glass. The surface started to crack. "No!" Lena shouted, grabbing her suitcase and throwing it at the mirror. The glass didn't shatter, it absorbed the hit like water, rippling again before going still. The cracks disappeared. Her reflection was gone. The mirror now showed only her empty hotel room from yesterday. The bed perfectly made, the lights off, the window open, rain dripping in. Her body shook all over. She ran to the phone on the nightstand and dialed the front desk. "Please, I need help. Someone's in my room." But when the line connected, she didn't hear a voice, just static. Then, faintly, a whisper. You shouldn't have looked back. She slammed the phone down and rushed to the door. It was unlocked this time. She yanked it open and ran into the hallway. The hall stretched longer than she remembered, much longer. The wallpaper was peeling, the lights flickering above her like dying candles. The carpet was soaked, leaving wet footprints as she ran. "Hello," she called out. Her voice echoed, thin and shaky. "Is anyone there?" No answer. Halfway down the hall, she saw the front desk at the far end. The old woman was still there, sitting perfectly still. Relief flooded her chest. "Please," Lena gasped, running toward her. "Something's wrong with my room." But as she got closer, she stopped. The woman wasn't moving. Her skin looked pawy, and dry, like paper left in the sun. Her eyes were open, but they weren't blinking. Then Lena saw the small, round mirror hanging behind the desk. The reflection showed the woman alive and smiling, counting money like it was still yesterday. Her knees nearly gave out. "No, no, no," she whispered. The old woman's head turned toward her slowly, too slowly. Her lips parted, and in a brittle, cracking voice she said, "You're not supposed to see it." Lena stumbled back, her eyes wide. "See what?" The woman pointed a trembling finger at the mirror behind her. Lena turned and gasped. The mirror wasn't showing the lobby anymore. It was showing her own hotel room. In the reflection, she was asleep in bed, breathing slowly. She was seeing yesterday night. As she watched, the door in the reflection creaked open, and a tall, shadowy figure stepped into the room, moving toward the sleeping version of her. Lena's heart froze. She couldn't look away. The figure leaned over her sleeping body and whispered something into her ear. Then, in real life, someone whispered the exact same words behind her. Lena spun around and saw her reflection standing there in the hallway. Same clothes, same face, same terrified eyes. Her reflection smiled faintly and said, "It's already tomorrow." Lena's reflection stepped closer, her shoes making no sound on the wet carpet. Every instinct in Lena screamed to run, but her legs felt locked in place. The hallway lights flickered again, plunging them into darkness for half a second. When they came back on, the reflection was only a few inches away. "Don't touch me," Lena whispered, her voice trembling. Her reflection tilted her head. "You can't stop it. Every mirror here shows what you've already done." Lena's pulse pounded in her ears. "What do you mean? What have I done?" The reflection didn't answer. Instead, she reached out and pressed her palm against Lena's chest. Her hand was cold, too cold, and for an instant, Lena saw a flash behind her eyes. She was back in her room again, watching herself sleep. The same figure stood over her, whispering into her ear. Then she saw it clearly for the first time. The shadow wasn't some stranger. It was her. The vision shattered, and she fell backward against the front desk. "No," she whispered, It's not me. Her reflection smiled. It is. Every night you sleep here, yesterday repeats. You wake up thinking it's today, but it isn't. You never leave this place. The old woman behind the counter began to move again, her head twitching, as if someone had wound her up. The mirrors don't lie, she muttered in a soft, eerie chant. The mirrors don't lie. Lena's breath came fast, uneven. How do I stop it? She shouted. Tell me how to get out. Her reflection's smile faded. You can't leave until you break what you started. The lights buzzed loudly above them, then exploded, one after another, until the hallway was swallowed in darkness. Lena turned to run, but the hallway had changed. It wasn't the hotel anymore. It looked like her own bedroom back in Seattle. The mirror on the wall was cracked down the middle, and through it she saw the same hotel corridor stretching endlessly in. The reflection. The reflection of herself stood inside that hallway now, watching her through the broken glass. Let me out, it said, voice echoing through the room. Lena shook her head. You're not me. The reflection's eyes filled with tears. Then why do we share the same yesterday? The crack in the mirror widened, glass splintering outward. A hand pushed through, gripping the air. Lena screamed and stumbled back as the reflection climbed halfway out. Her face distorted, her mouth wide open in a silent cry. Stop! Lena shouted, grabbing a chair and smashing it against the mirror. The glass shattered completely this time, scattering across the floor. The reflection vanished. The room fell quiet. Lena stood there, chest heaving, surrounded by broken glass. Her reflection was gone. The air was still. For the first time, she thought she was free. She turned toward the door, ready to run, then froze. In the broken shards of glass at her feet, dozens of tiny reflections stared back at her. Each one moved a little differently. Each one showed her doing something she hadn't done yet. One of them smiled. Another raised a hand. And in the largest shard near her shoe, her reflection leaned forward and whispered, You can't break yesterday. The hotel lights flickered back on. The sound of rain started again outside the window. And from down the hallway, the old woman's voice echoed softly. Room 9 is ready for the next guest. If you ever stay somewhere with too many mirrors, make sure they only show your reflection. Because if they ever show yesterday, you are already part of the story. Like, subscribe, and remember, some reflections aren't meant to be seen twice.